This happened back when I was about 14 years old. My brother had to help raise money for his school's musical and had to sell a box full of chocolate bars. Because he likes to leave things last minute and was getting desperate, my parents made me accompany him. I really didn't want to, but luckily, my best friend Kathy tagged along. We left Friday after school, and Kathy helped me plan out the perfect route. We decided to focus on the bougie area of our town, full of folks who came from old money. We visited the big houses with Christmas decorations and lights on, and were amazed by all the adults who actually answered their doors. They even bought multiple bars of chocolate. They were especially interested in hearing about the musical, and asked Brian if he could sing a Christmas carol for them. Some of the adults were feeling extra generous. They handed him extra cash and offered us tasty holiday treats. Kathy and I were getting into the holiday spirit after seeing all the decorations and kindness, so we stopped here and there to take selfies with the decorated houses as our background.
You guys are walking too slow.
My brother was walking ahead of us, eager to sell the rest of the chocolates and get more tips. And because he was being really hard-headed and didn't want to slow down, we decided to mess with him.
Shh, crouch down so he doesn't see us.
So while he was a house ahead of us, we hid behind a tree and waited for him to realize we were gone and start crying. We knew he'd be safe, and we were still able to keep an eye on him from where we hid. But after a few minutes, I poked my head out because he hadn't noticed us gone. I saw him standing in front of a house with all its lights off.
What the heck is that fart face doing now?
Confused, I walked towards him.
Brian, come back here now.
I got closer to the house, and he ignored me. I approached the front porch and saw Brian with a dazed look on his face. An old woman was extending her hand out towards him, and he grabbed it. I was screaming at him to stop what he was doing and that we had to head back home ASAP. In a split second, he stepped through the threshold and entered the house.
Brian, stop!
I ran up the steps while the door was closing and blocked it with my foot. At that moment, I got a glimpse of an odd-looking woman. She was in her 50s, had dark black disheveled hair and light green eyes that looked otherworldly. She immediately locked eyes with me, and I had to blink twice so that I wouldn't get mesmerized. I was telling her to leave my brother alone and called her all kinds of names, but she just stared at me in silence. I was starting to panic, but knew I had to protect my brother. So I pushed her aside to grab and pull him away, but she also grabbed him too, and she tugged. He screamed in pain. I put my fears aside, took out my phone and snapped a picture of the crazy-looking woman for evidence. I told her that I was going to report her for being a sad, creepy woman who preys on little children during the holidays. The flash startled her, so she let go of Brian and pushed him out the door. I tried to catch him. She looked at me once more, then closed and locked the door. Brian fell to the ground and snapped out of his trance. I stood there in shock because when I took the picture, the flash revealed something entirely different. She looked like a witch or a demon with beams of light coming out of her eyes. Kathy ran over and pulled Brian and me away from the house. She said she recorded the whole thing. I looked down at Brian, and he looked like he was going to faint.
What happened? I couldn't control my body. I tried to fight back, but it just hurt a lot. I'm sorry. I didn't want to go there.
Relieved, I hugged him and we all ran back home. Kathy went back to her place. As soon as I entered the house, I told my parents what happened, and they called the cops, who then went straight to the odd woman's home. We anxiously waited for any news from the cops, and I hugged Brian and told him that everything would be alright. His arm was starting to bruise, so I iced it for him. The police went to our house afterwards and looked a bit annoyed. They said they had to storm into the house because no one answered the door. They asked us to describe the woman and to repeat the address again. I explained everything again, and the police looked at me in disbelief. I grabbed my phone to show them the picture of the woman. But when we looked at the photo, it was completely blank. The cops thought I was lying and were about to leave. Apparently, they broke into the house and found out that nobody has lived there in over a decade. We were all speechless. I knew that I took a picture of the woman. Why was it now blank? Then I remembered that Kathy filmed the whole thing on her phone. We called Kathy's parents and asked if they could bring her phone over. When they got to our place, Kathy pulled out her phone, and again, the footage didn't show the woman. However, it showed me grabbing Brian's arm and pulling him away from the house. We were all so confused, and Brian was crying now. My parents were embarrassed and apologized to the police as they left. Our parents sat us down and asked us what really happened, but they didn't believe us. Brian couldn't remember anything and continued crying. They accused me of hurting Brian because I wasn't interested in accompanying him and probably wanted him to hurry up. I got angry and ran to my room. I couldn't believe that I was being blamed now. My parents grounded me for a month, and Kathy wasn't allowed to hang out with me over the Christmas break. Brian remained silent. Even I was starting to doubt myself and thought that maybe I was going crazy and made this woman up. But I would never hurt my little brother. I went back to the creepy woman's house every day after school, and the place was always deserted. Exhausted, I apologized to my parents. Once I got my phone and laptop back, I started doing some research. I looked up the address, and apparently, the house has been abandoned ever since the owner disappeared after being found guilty of child abduction. I even found a photo of the owner of the house. And of course, it was the creepy woman from the night of the incident. But of course, when I brought it up again to my parents, they didn't believe me. Brian doesn't remember the woman due to being in a trance, and Kathy didn't get a clear glimpse of her from where she hid. I feel like I'm going insane now, and still go to the house after school. I won't give up until I come face to face with that woman again.